raised by two parents who didn't go to college, but who worked very hard. My dad was an Army veteran who served for 20 years, which, given the times that we are in, hits a little different. My mom was a florist and a customer service representative, and they both taught me the value of hard work and giving back to your community. Especially my mom, who would always tell me to serve others, to make sure that others had more than what they needed so that they can be safe and happy. And it's those values that I took with me into the classroom, where after college, my very first job after graduating was as a middle school social studies teacher. I taught U.S. history and Texas history. And I was in a classroom with 150 kids, not one classroom, multiple classrooms. 150 kids who were just as smart as anybody else, just as willing to work hard, had the same kinds of dreams, but because of where they lived, they didn't have the same kinds of opportunities. I found that to be fundamentally unfair. And I did everything that I could as a teacher to change the circumstances for those children and to give them the opportunities that they deserve and that they wanted. It's at that moment that I decided that I wanted to go to law school and become a policymaker. I wanted to change public policy. I didn't know how exactly, but I came to Emory Law School because I knew that the system needed to be fairer than it was. It's while at Emory that I met people like Chantel, my great friend from law school, who helped inspire me to ultimately run for public office. While at the same time I was a litigator at McKenna Long and Aldridge, I ran for the school board at a time when Atlanta Public Schools had broken the trust of parents, of students, and of teachers in the wake of the largest cheating scandal in American history. And I worked my butt off with my colleagues to make sure that we restored that trust in the school system, where we directed money from the administration into school sites, into classrooms, where we gave teachers the pay raises that they were due. And we worked with people like Mindy, with Gears, to make sure that we were giving, I'm giving all kinds of shout outs. To make sure, it's what it's gonna take. It's gonna take a village. But to make sure that we were giving students all the resources that they needed. And it's that kind of work that helped Atlanta Public Schools go from graduating about 50% of our students when I first started on the Atlanta Public Schools Board of Education, to graduating more than 80% of children. Now APS's graduation rate is higher than the state of Georgia's graduation rate. And while that's a significant accomplishment, I will tell you that a lot of work needs to be done. APS and school systems across this state are struggling. They are not perfect by any means. So I ran for state senate because I saw on the school board and as a teacher that we were literally placing all of the societal issues that we have at the feet of our teachers, at the feet of our schools. If a child came to school hungry or without appropriate clothing, teachers were expected to not only feed them lunch, but make sure that they had breakfast and dinner. Our schools now have clothing closets, we have grocery stores, we have health clinics. Teachers are expected to do everything where the state has failed. So I ran for the state senate to make sure that we have a state government that actually supports our communities, that actually addresses issues that have impacted Georgians for decades. But what I found was a legislature that was distracted by politics. When you have the same party in control of the governor's office, of the Senate, and of the House, you get distracted by the politics. We have a state government that is more focused on special interests than on our families. I'm running for governor because Georgia deserves better. We deserve to live in a state where women have reproductive freedom. We We deserve to live in a state where our babies don't have to worry about gun violence when they go to school. We deserve to live in a state where if you want to open and grow your business, you get as much love as the support from the state of Georgia as a Hyundai or a Rivian. You also deserve to live in a state where if we say we're going to tax you a certain amount, we don't save that, hoard that money in a bank account. $16 billion in a bank account when you have people living on the streets, including veterans who have served this country. When you have the third highest rate of seniors living in poverty in the country, where it is more dangerous to have a baby here in Georgia than in most third world countries. Y'all, we deserve better. And we have the opportunity to change that in November of 2026 by electing me governor of the state of Georgia. Now here's the thing. I need your help. I need your help. I need your help because we have to talk to people about the issues that they care about. I strongly believe that we can win this state by talking to people about kitchen table issues, focused on economics, making sure that we keep and grow the money in people's pockets. If we're talking to people about how we can lower the cost of housing, to make sure that they can afford their rent, afford to buy their first home, or afford to downsize their home, then we're going to pique their interest. If we talk to them about how we're going to expand access to health care, not just by expanding Medicaid, but by making sure that we're expanding private insurance options, make sure that we're improving our senior care system, which, by the way, is something that's near and dear to my heart, because I'm a caregiver of a mother with late-stage Alzheimer's. My wife and I have seen firsthand how our healthcare system for seniors, our senior care system, is broken. Too many of our seniors can't find an affordable place to live, and they can't find the care that they deserve. We can fix that. I also want to make sure that we're investing in our children. Not just in our K-12 education system, where 90% of our kids attend, but also by investing in early childhood education. Right, Mindy? Y'all, I don't know if you know, but childcare in Georgia is more expensive than in-state college tuition. It is harder and more expensive to send your child to Bright Horizons than it is to Georgia State. Agreed. I almost fell too when I heard that. Are you okay? Okay. But when you have, again, $16 billion sitting in a bank account, it's not just about fixing our literacy crisis where we have 70% of our children who are not reading on grade level by the time they reach 4th grade. It's also about making sure that people are able to work. 1/3 of our parents in this state have had to quit or they've gotten fired because they don't have access and can't afford childcare. That's unacceptable. We also have to make sure that we're preparing our older kids for the jobs of the future, giving them the option to go to college and to make sure that they finish, but also giving them the option to start work if they don't want to go to college and they want to jump straight into work. Making sure that we have strong apprenticeship programs and trade schools so that they can get a good paying job and provide for their families. Lastly, I want to make sure that we are investing in ourselves. My wife and I, Ariel, by the way, I wish y'all could have met her, but she's in Macon right now. We're opening our second restaurant. We're small business owners. Go small business owners. Ariel's a nurse practitioner. She owns an urgent care. And we both own 2 Flying Biscuits. Flying Biscuit Cafe. Now, not all of Flying Biscuit. I don't got it like that. It's just Columbus and Macon. But I've seen how small businesses are the backbone of the state.
Yeah.
And that if we truly want a state where you can thrive regardless of where you live or regardless of who you are, then our small businesses are the ones that are going to get us there. And like I said earlier, we have a governor that talks about being the #1 state to do business. But what he's really talking about are the big out-of-state corporations coming into the state. What we should be doing is showing our small businesses just as much love as we're showing those big businesses. If you're a small business owner, you know that the #1 barrier to opening and growing your business is access to capital. $16 billion just sitting in a bank account while people are struggling. We can make that money work. Any good business person knows you gotta make your money work for you. We can do that by promoting our small businesses. We can also give them the tax credits and deductions that they need to help provide for their families, but also reinvest in our communities. Because if you've ever driven through any small town in this state, it's not some big corporation that is helping to revitalize those areas. Those mom and pop shops that are doing the work. So I want to make sure that there's a governor in the state of Georgia that supports them. Y'all, not only do we have to talk about the issues that people care about, we have to meet people where they are. As someone who's from outside of the great state of Atlanta, I fully understand that there is a big state out there outside of Metro Atlanta. Someone asked me earlier, how do we win the rural vote?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily about just winning the rural vote. It's about cutting into the margins. The Republicans have been able to grow because Democrats have refused to go and meet voters where they are. In me, you have a governor that's going to crisscross his state and make sure that we are meeting voters in churches, at barbecues, at diners, all across the state, and talking to them about the issues that are important. And what I talked about, affordable housing, education, healthcare, small businesses, those aren't just Metro Atlanta issues. Those are Georgians' issues. That's what I'm going to be talking about all across the state. And I'm confident that if I go from Bainbridge to Augusta, to Macon, to Calhoun, if we talk to people about these issues, whether they're Democrat, whether they're Republican, whether they're independent, and tell them about how we're going to keep and grow the money in their pocket, how we're going to invest in Georgian families, how we're going to make sure that our kids have more opportunities than what we had, we're going to build a broad-based coalition it's going to take to win. But like I said, I can't do that by myself. I need you, which is why I appreciate your support of this campaign so far. You are here because you've contributed, because you want to hear more about me and the campaign, but I also need you to spread the word. I need you to leave here and talk to people about me and talk to them about what we're building. Still very early. The primary is not until May of 2026. But the work to win this election next year starts now. It starts by you spreading the word. It starts by you giving money. And it also starts by helping to volunteer for the campaign. If you can do those three things, I'd be greatly appreciated. But I want to thank y'all for having me here this evening. I want to answer a few questions that you might have, and then I look forward to meeting each one of you individually. But thank you again, and I look forward to being here next time. What questions? I had two questions. Shay Roberts is going to pull me off the stage.
So I think if we are lucky enough to get you elected, you will likely still have a Georgia legislature that will not, you will have a divided government. So what can you do as governor without a legislature to back you up?
Yeah. Well, Heather, thank you so much for that question. And look, I am confident that when we win this state next year, we're also going to flip the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
bipartisan support. But look, I understand that the legislature is gonna at least half of it is gonna be Republican. But I've also developed a reputation for being someone that can work across the aisle. And I'll give you the biggest widely known secret at the Capitol. There are a lot of Republicans that agree with all the stuff that I just talked about. They are looking for a way out. If I showed you my text messages from my colleagues who were like, hey, this is an issue. Hey, talk about this. You'd be surprised. So I know that we can find common ground by making sure that we're sticking to those issues that impact our wallets and that impact our families. When we talk about healthcare, when we talk about common sense gun legislation, you know that some of that legislation has passed the House. It's gotten stuck in the Senate. If we have a governor that is using the bully pulpit of that office to advocate for some of this legislation, I know that we can get it done.
You could also have an Office of Violence Prevention.
We can have that too.
He will have veto power.
We can. The second thing is, and Shay just gave it all away. Shay just gave it all away. Not only is it working across the aisle, but I also know that the first year is going to be pretty challenging. They're going to be testing me, right? But there's one power that they can't take away from me, and that's the power of the pen, the veto pen.
Yeah.
And my colleague David Lucas from Macon always says, when it comes down to the Capitol, it's all about the money. He's like, it's all about the money. And when you look at our state budget, $37 billion. The governor has the authority to line item strike things from the budget. Why is that important? Well, you know why that's important. Because ultimately, the governor has a significant say over the state budget. So if we want to get our priorities through, if we want to make sure that more Democratic bills get heard, if more Democratic bills get passed, and that our state legislature reflects more of the people of this state, then we need a governor that's going to be able to do it. So I'm willing to work across the aisle, but I'm also willing to take out that pen and veto when I need to veto.